Okay, so thanks everybody for joining us. We're going to go ahead and get started with our first 2021 membership meeting. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Rachel Caraba. I'm with Remax 2020, and I am your 2021 Association President. I'd like to start off by introducing the rest of our board. I'm not sure if everybody is on the call or not. I don't see any, I'm just going to introduce them because I don't know if everybody's on it. We have Laura Lee Smith, and she is our president-elect for the association. Randall Allison, who is our secretary-treasurer. Kathy Massey is our immediate past president. Jeff Leatherwood is our MLS president. He's serving his now second year as our, well, kind of, right? As our MLS president. Hayden Paul, director for the association. Lisa Craig, who is also a director for the association. Tony Rufino, a director for the association. Our newest director, Sherry Barrett, she just joined our board this year. Stacy Martz is our TAR, do I say TAR, Texas Real? I don't even know anymore what they're called, all these abbreviations.
Texas Realtors.
Anyway, she's Texas Realtors, TAR, I don't know. You guys get it. She is our Texas Realtors director, as well as Missy King. So we've got a pretty awesome team on deck this year. I'm super excited to work with everybody, and hopefully we can make some more positive moves to recover from 2021. Is not off to the best start, but hopefully we can recover. We just all need to pray really hard and just promise to be good. Anyway, so I'm going to pass it over to Gloria Medina. She's going to be doing our invocation. Gloria, are you ready?
I am. Welcome.
All right, lady, take it away.
Thank you. Dear God, we just come before you in the name of Jesus, our Lord, to give you glory and honor. As we gather together, we come before you representing this association and every member in it, Lord. Lord, it is written in Proverbs, where there is no wise, intelligent guidance, the people fall and go off course like a ship without a helm. But in the abundance of wise and godly counselors, there is victory. We ask you, Lord, to help us grow in wisdom that we will learn, lead, and teach others. We pray for peace and love in our hearts, good health in our bodies, and prosperity in our land and nation. Lord, we pray that you'll bless our country and all of our elected officials in local, state, and national offices to run our country in peace and fairness. And we thank you, Lord, that we are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that we may declare the praises of him who called us out of darkness into his wonderful light. Father God, we ask that you open the windows of heaven, dear God, and pour out blessings on us. We're not worthy to receive, but we thank you, Jesus, that in you and through you, we can do all things because you are our strength. And we give you praise and honor and glory in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you so much, Gloria. That was wonderful. We really appreciate that. I'm going to hand it over to Amy to lead us in our pledges.
Okay, great. First, we have pledge to the United States. If you will kind of virtually join along with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now we have the Texas pledge, which I have the words on the screen for you because it's not one we've done probably since elementary school for some of us. So, honor the Texas pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. All right, and now a little association update that I'm also going to do. So we have a couple things coming up that we want to make you aware of. First of all, for our Realtor members, we have a full education schedule available on our website. Our first quarter classes have all been posted, so please go on and see about any kind of education that you might need to take for renewal. We also have designation classes. We have our GRI classes coming up as well, so if you are a newer agent and you need those kinds of hours, you need SAE hours for your renewal, we do have GRI coming up. Currently, right now, everything is still being hosted completely virtual with no one coming into the office. And so it gives you an opportunity to be able to take a class from wherever you're at. As long as you're stationary, you can be wherever you want to be and take a class. So please look at our schedule and let us know if you have any questions. We are also always open to suggestions. So if our education committee needs to look at anything that you would like for us to offer, please send an email to Amber. That's association@bcsrealtor.com, and she can talk with our education committee chair, Annie Supak. We also have a membership survey going on right now for our Realtor members. That's going to run through the 15th. If you complete the survey, you will be put into a drawing for $100. So hopefully everyone will participate in that survey. And the survey is directly connected to our boards going through strategic planning at the end of this month. So on the 22nd, they'll go through basically the strategic planning session they do every 3 years to create our new strategic plan. We have bingo for Tree Pack. So this is our first Tree Pack fundraiser for 2021. This is a virtual fundraiser. We are going to host bingo virtually on Thursday, January 28th from 6 to 8. This is very, kid friendly, family friendly. So when you register, it's $35 for your first bingo card and then $15 for each additional. They're going to be electronically sent to you. So basically you sign up and then we'll send you your bingo card. You can participate like on your browser. You can also print them off and participate like that too. We're going to do multiple games though. So on the browser seems to be probably the easiest option on that. All the funds from that event will go directly to Tree Pack in your name as an investment. And we will also have prizes, which we will decide on some of those next week and get information out. We do have to have 20 participants for this event to make basically. So hopefully people will participate. We would love your participation. And then our next membership meeting is March 4th. Now, this is a TBD in person. We hope we're going to be able to go back in person in March. And our speaker is going to be Chris Field. And the interesting thing is this is a full circle. He was the last luncheon speaker we had before everything shut down. And so Chris is going to bring us some hopeful tips about how to work through difficult times. And so we're hopeful that this will be something that we can do live and in person. So fingers and toes crossed on that one. So, and that's my association update for today.
All right, thanks, Amy. We appreciate that. So I'm going to hand it over to Kathy, who's going to be introducing our speaker. Kathy, you're on mute.
Had unmuted. Can you hear me now?
Yep, we gotcha.
Okay, sorry about that. So I am so honored and excited to be introducing our guest speaker today. I've actually had the privilege of hearing him already speak at one of our conferences, so I think you will thoroughly enjoy his presentation today. His name is Matt Jones. He went from being a 3-time cancer conqueror to relearning how to walk. He's a survivor of a bone marrow transplant. He completed 8 marathons on 8 continents, and yes, that's 8. That includes Antarctica and the newly discovered continent of Zealandia. Hopefully he will share a little bit about those adventures with us. Olympic gold medalist Scott Hamilton said that Matt Jones has done what anyone would consider impossible. He is a conqueror, an overcomer, a champion, and a superhuman. Matt has spoken to several realtor associations around the country in person, and now he's doing it virtually, of course. So please join me in giving Matt Jones a great big virtual round of applause.
All right. Well,
welcome, Matt.
Oh, thank you, Kathy. It's great to see you again virtually. And I'm so honored to be here. And oh, wow, there's my screen just like that. That's amazing. All right. So you all can see my screen. take that as a yes.
I do not.
You do not see my screen?
I do not.
Okay, no worries. We'll get this fixed. Does anyone see the screen?
I see you perfectly.
I see
You
you.
see me?
I
Do
just
you
don't
see
see
my do you
We
see my
see
slides?
you. We see you. We don't see your slide.
Okay, well, we're gonna get ready to do the slides here, and because we have these beautiful slides prepared for you. So I'm just gonna switch that over there, and I think maybe this is on Spotlight. Let's see. Well, first of all, how's everyone doing? We're on the new year, and I'm excited to share with you just inspiration, motivation from my story, but also some strategies that you can use personally and professionally. And I see my slides, but I do not see them. Let me click out of here.
I took you off Spotlight to see if maybe that was hanging it up, so.
Okay, so now I'm going to pick share slides, and I'll pick share.
Okay, now we can see your screen.
And now you
Yes.
see my screen. Amazing.
Yeah.
Slides for today, and voila. Can you see the slides?
Yes.
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 Amazing victory. Well, I want to start off by sharing this. This is my philosophy for life. And I'm always a big note taker, so I encourage, if you like to take notes, feel free to take notes. If not, no worries. But my philosophy for life, this philosophy that helped me to overcome cancer when doctors didn't think I was going to live, helped me to relearn how to walk and go on complete a marathon in every continent, helped me through 2020. And here's the philosophy: lighten up, don't tighten up. Lighten up, don't tighten up. And that's why I went and got my smiley face hat, because I don't know about you, but wow, this last year, there's been a little bit of stress for some of us. And one of the things I learned from my cancer adventure, I called it adventure, is that while we can't always control what happens to us, we can always choose how we perceive it. And so I'm excited to share with you. And I want to start right off my very first slide. I do also want to try to make this a little bit interactive. If you have the ability down below, I don't see it on my screen right now, but you can do the emojis. So feel free, if you have that ability, you know, if I say something that you like or enjoy, give me a heart or a high five. Does anyone have emojis on their screen? Yeah, so feel free, if you have some of those, go ahead and, all right, we got a thumbs up. That's awesome. Try to make this somewhat more interactive. But I want to start out, and as you know, being a realtor, being in the real estate industry, that I believe one of the biggest challenges we'll ever face is our mind. The limiting beliefs, the negative self-talk, the self-defeating inner dialogue. One of the areas I study is positive psychology. And there's a thing called a negativity bias. And the negativity bias is how our minds have developed from our ancestors, passed down from our genes. And what the result is, the majority of people, 80% of their thoughts are negative. Think about that. How much fear we experience on a day-to-day basis. That's why I try to stay away from the news. I mean, talk about a downer. Am I right? Am I right? Now, you may have heard the acronym for fear: false evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real. How many have heard that before? False evidence appearing real. Because many times the things that we fear never happen. Now, I want to give you a definition. A definition for fear is the anticipation of pain. And I think, how many times in my life have I played small, or have I held back, or I haven't gone after my dreams, my desires, my hopes, because of this anticipation of fear? What if I get rejected? What happens if they say no? I want to share this with you. One of my mentors, Les Brown, And I recommend Les Brown, the world's greatest motivational speaker. If you need some inspiration, motivation, pick me up. Go to YouTube and put in Les Brown. But he said something. He said, make no your vitamin. Make no your vitamin. You see, so many people, when we hear the word no, it discourages us. There's a Jewish proverb that says there's life and death in the power of the tongue. You see, words have emotional meanings. And if you make no your vitamin, if you recognize no stands for next opportunity, if you recognize that every single no you get is one step closer to yes, then that word no becomes an empowerment. See, what I want to do this afternoon is lay this foundation of a mindset and then give you some strategies. I call 3 simple choices that you can use to achieve the victory and cross the finish line that you want to cross in 2021. And that's why we start off this first screen. Too blessed to be stressed. This is my all-time go-to favorite affirmation because I realize when it comes to achieving your best year, it starts in the mind. It starts with the mindset. Because you can know all the strategies and all the sales, the newest sales techniques, and ultimately know what we're supposed to do. But I think the trick comes, at least for me, how do I empower myself to do the things I need to do day in and day out? And it starts with the words I speak to myself. And then I added these puppies. Because how can you not be like less stressed by looking at puppies? So feel free if you want to in the chat. Tell me which one's your favorite. Which one's your favorite puppy? So, too blessed to be stressed. So, here's the affirmation. I'm too blessed to be stressed. Let me give you another affirmation. I'm too grateful to be hateful. Oh, the pug. We got 1 vote for the pugs. So, I'm too blessed to be stressed. So, this is a conversation I have for myself. So, like yesterday, I turned on the news. It's like, wow, okay, there's a lot of stress going on. So, I tell myself, I'm too blessed to be stressed. Give another one. I'm too grateful to be hateful. I'm too blessed to be stressed. I'm too grateful to be hateful. And this is my all-time new favorite one. Your ego is not your amigo. That's my message to the politicians. One of my goals doing these virtual talks over this last year is just to bring some laughter, some joy, some lightness into our lives. Let me give you an example of this thing I'm talking about. So before the pandemic, I flew a good amount. I flew over 10,000 miles a month, airline miles. And I haven't flown since March. So let's talk about transition. But several years ago, I was a closing speaker. I did a sales meeting downtown New York City. And it was late afternoon, and I was scheduled to speak the next morning in Portland, Oregon. So I'm connecting, last flight out from LaGuardia, I'm connecting through Chicago O'Hare. Curious, has anyone flown through Chicago O'Hare in their life? How many would agree like me, that can be a character building experience? I mean, like every single time I fly through O'Hare, there's a delay. Now, if I miss my connection, and LaGuardia is not much better, and so I'm already stressed. And of course, the flight from LaGuardia to O'Hare is delayed. We land Chicago 10 minutes before boarding. I'm like freaking out. Finally get off the plane. Now we are 10 minutes into the boarding process. And this has actually happened to me. They will, if you don't make it to the gate on time, they will shut the door and they will leave you. And so I go, I find an airport worker. I said, ma'am, I've got to get to Portland, Oregon. Where's the departure gate? Now, I really try to be optimistic in life. And so I just was hoping that the arrival gate would be right next to the departure gate. Right? Someone shaking their head. I think you have a better chance of winning the mega Powerball. And the airport worker, ma'am, she looked at me and said, oh no, that's 2 terminals away. And they're scheduled to shut the door in 5 minutes. Now I'm in full-blown panic mode because I'm the opening speaker. That's the last flight out. And so I look at her, I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? And she says to me, run, Forrest, run. Now I laugh at it now, but at the time, oh, I gave her a look. I said, what are you talking about? And she said, you better get running. And so I'm running through Chicago O'Hare. I mean, you've been there before, right? Run to an airport. It's crazy. And I'm dodging people on the left and the right. And I get to the plane. There's the gate. There's the plane. The door is shut. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I was on time. It's your fault. But I saw an airport worker. If nothing else in life, I'm also not only optimistic, I try to be tenacity. And so I go to her, I said, ma'am, I know you're not supposed to, but you'll understand. I'm like a million miler. So can you just make an exception and like just sneak me on the plane? She said, sir, where are you trying to get to? I said, I've got to get to Portland, Oregon. And she says to me, well, that flight's been delayed for another hour. That was like the one time I was happy a delayed flight. But here's the point. All that stress, all that worry, all that anxiety, for what? You see, we're laying this groundwork. You see, fear happens in the imagined future. Let me give you an example. I would like you to raise your hand tomorrow. Raise your hand tomorrow. It can't be done. Why? Tomorrow never comes. But how often do we give away our power? We give away our energy because we're worrying about something tomorrow, whether the deal will close, whether we're going to be able to, sell the properties, this, that, and we lose the focus of the one thing we have, the only thing we have, and that's the here and the now, this moment. And I want to invite you, in less than an hour that we have together, in this moment, I believe there's a reason, there's a purpose that you are on this call, this webinar, this meeting. On Monday, this upcoming Monday, will mark, 2004, it's now 2001, 17 years ago on Monday. I went to Kansas University. I'm originally from Kansas. Kansas University Hospital. What had happened was I was waiting for a bone marrow donor for a bone marrow transplant, but I was having these massive headaches. And I went there because I didn't know what was going on. They ran some tests. And that Monday morning, into my room walked Dr. Doom. This is the type of person that brightens the whole room as soon as they leave. How many know some Dr. Dooms? And that's awesome. Amy's from Kansas. Oh, great. It's a small world. And here I was in my early 20s. I'm sitting in a hospital bed. Dr. Doom walks over and she tells me the cancer has come back and it's spread to the fluid in your brain. And because of my positive attitude, I thought to myself, oh my goodness, I'm going to need a brain transplant. And then she said, you have a less than 10% chance of living to the age of 30. And she got up and she walked out. I am now, last October, I turned 42. And what I want to share with you right now, in this moment in 2021, to have our best year ever, we've got to watch out for the Dr. Dooms. We got to watch out for the naysayers, the dream busters, the people who peddle fear. And so often, at least for me, I'm my own Dr. Doom. Once again, the majority of people, 80% of their thoughts are negative. Why? Because we're caught up in the imagined future. We're anticipating the pain. But when you're just in this moment and realize that it's always just now, to be here, to be in the moment. One of my favorite all-time quotes, I'm sure many of you read Think and Grow Rich. Does anyone read Think and Grow Rich? Napoleon Hill. And in there he writes, every adversity Every heartache, every failure carries with a seed of an equal or greater benefit. Now, if you're taking notes, I want you to write this down. We're going to come back to this. And this is something that changed my life. And I call it a little golden nugget of wisdom. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your questions. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your questions. Let me give you an example of this. I used to live in California. And in California, they have these race car driving schools. And one of the things they teach you is when you spin out of control, don't focus on the wall, but focus where you want to go on the track. Because where you place your attention, where you place your focus, that's where you'll end up. And what a great metaphor as we enter 2021. Because it's so easy to get caught up in the negativity, the problems, that we focus on where we don't want to go. T.R. Eckhart said this: where your attention goes, your energy flows, your results show. Where your attention goes, your energy flows, your results show. What do you focus on? Because what you focus on in life is what you get back. So going back to that little golden nugget of wisdom, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your questions. And so I want to encourage you in 2021 and for the rest of your life, become what I call a solutionist. And a solutionist is someone who's solution oriented, not problem focused. You think about it. The people you serve, the people you represent, what do they want to hear? Do they want solutions when it comes to buying homes, or do they want to hear problems? No one have no time for problems. And when you bring solutions to the marketplace, no matter what's going on in the economy, no matter who's in government, you will always be highly sought out, because the majority of people, all they see is the problems. So the question becomes, and for many years I wrote this down on a 3x5 note card. I posted on my wall, what's the solution? What's the solution? Because the majority of people are asking the question, what's the problem? And the most powerful computer known to man is our mind. And isn't it interesting? In the same way that we are communicating, how are we even communicating? I'm actually right now in Tampa, Florida. I mean, isn't it crazy how we communicate through the airwaves? In the same way, our mind sends out these signals. And that's why, once again, when you send out positivity and solutions, you will attract people who are looking for that. All right, next slide. So this is something I created during the pandemic, and I think it's so important. I call it the Life Blessings Daily Bank Account. And so just real quickly, I want to share this. And all I did was I just put 3 blessings on here. And the first blessing is your heartbeat. The average person every single day, over 100,000 heartbeats. I mean, how many would agree a heartbeat's a pretty important thing? Think about that every single day. Every single day, we're given 86,400 seconds. Every single day, the average person, over 23,000 breaths. Real quickly, if you would, please, if you like, take a big, deep breath in. And breathe out. How big a check would you write for that? You see, when you say, I'm too blessed to be stressed, when you start looking at the blessings in your life, you realize how good life is. Because if you just take these 3 blessings and you add them up, that's over 209,400 blessings every single day. But what happens is, what you focus on is what you get back. But when you go the other day, I mean, I was looking at all the YouTube videos, everything was going on in the Washington, D.C., all the craziness. And I started getting in the dumps. I started feeling depressed. I'm like, and then I said, why was that? Because I was focusing on the problems instead of focusing on the fact that I'm alive. When I had Dr. Doom say less than 10% chance of living past 30. You see, once again, what you focus on in life is what you get back. Now think about this. We add this right here. 5 people. There's 5 people you love, 5 people you care about. 209,400 times 5 is over 1 million blessings every single day. Multiply that by a year, you are you're a billionaire of blessings. Real quickly, let me ask you this. How big a check would you write for being alive? What's it worth? A child, children, a mother, a father, a significant other, friends, your family, your coworkers. I think we'd all agree the answer is priceless. Priceless. So one of the things I'm going to encourage you, very practical thing you can do. And once again, we're just talking about the mindset here before we go into the strategy, is make a list of 101 blessings. And this is great to do with a spouse, with your children, with coworkers. Because once again, where you place your attention, that's where your energy goes. That's where your results happen. There's 2 reasons for this. Number 1, when you write out this list of 101 blessings, you really see how great life is. And then secondly, once you have this list, if you're ever in a funk, maybe you had that closing, you're going to have your best month ever, this one backed out, the loan fell through, whatever, so you get in an accident, whatever, life, happens. You go back to this list and you realize, wow, pretty awesome to be alive. We're truly blessed. This is one of my favorite quotes. I'm a big quote person, and I got to move all these people over here. And I love this quote. So just receive this quote. Leo Buscaglia, he was a professor at USC back in the 70s, great speaker and author. He said this, at birth, we are given the greatest gift, life. And as our first birthday present, we are presented with a fantastic world in which to live. We are alive. You know how many people wish they were alive right now? I remember Norman Vincent Peale, he wrote the book, The Power of Positivity. And he was a minister too, and he did these counseling sessions. And a person came to him one day and just said, man, my life is full of worry. And I just, and Norman Vincent Peale said to him, would you like to see a place where there's no worry? And the person's like, yes, because I'm tired of worrying. So he took him and showed him the cemetery. He said, these people have no worries because they're not alive. Too blessed to be stressed. Now, once again, here's my philosophy. Lighten up, don't tighten up. And so I want to share this with you. This next picture, if you might guess, but that's me at 4 years young. And there's my sister, Joanna. And there was a study, and it's one of my favorite studies. It shows the average 4-year-old laughs or smiles up to 400 times a day. I mean, how many of you have children? Or how many have ever seen a child? They have this joy about them. Why? Because they're in the moment. They're enjoying life. But unfortunately, the studies show by the time they reach the age of 30, that number drops to 15. You know, one of the most recent's not the word, the feedback, most feedback I get from a lot of these virtual talks is people saying, thank you, Matt. It's been so long since I've laughed or smiled. Because the reality is 2020 was tough for a lot of people. But even though, no matter how bad life gets, we still have the choice. That's why it's so important on a daily basis to focus on what's good in our lives, to focus on the blessings. So here's a quote, Patch Adams, and there was a movie, and actually Robin Williams played his character. Some of you may have seen it, but he believed in laughter therapy. And I love this quote. Laughter boosts the immune system. As we know right now, you need to have a strong immune system. Helps the body fight off disease, cancer cells, as well as viral, bacterial, and other infections. Being happy is the best cure of all diseases. How are you happy? You're happy when you focus on your blessings. You're happy when you focus in the present. You're happy when you have a nice pet there like Amber has, right? Pets help us be happy. They're joyful. And there's studies, right? Why do we love our pets? Because they make us happy. They're blessings. Very good. That's awesome. Now, real quickly, just some studies here. We don't want to get bogged down on this because I want to have other information for you. But here's 5 benefits of laughing. Check out these benefits. Number 1, helps the heart, helps relieve pain. Number 2, eases feelings of depression. I love number 4, helps burn calories. So if you laugh enough, you don't need to exercise. That could be your whole exercise program, just laughing. I love it, right? And then this one right here, during this time we live, helps boost the immune system. And here's the thing, laughing and smiling, it's free. It's free. 2 other studies real quickly. If you want more information, you can Google these. There are 2 famous studies in positive psychology. The first one is the nun study. And what they found is, on average, happy nuns live 10 years longer than unhappy nuns. So I guess there's unhappy nuns. Some of you might have had them growing up in Catholic school. And this is one of my favorite studies, because as a kid, I was into baseball cards. And what it shows is 1952, they took the picture of the baseball player, and there's 3 categories. The first category is a person with no smile. So this guy here, and right here, no smile, on average lives 72.9 years. The person with a slight smile, 75 years, like this gentleman, the big smile, 79.9 years. So what they found is, not a causation, but a correlation, that by having a big smile versus no smile on their baseball cards, they lived 7 years longer. I read this study. I thought about go get some tape and tape my mouth with a smile when I fall asleep. But here's the thing I want to ask you. How many smiles, how many laughters are you having a day? Truly the goal is 400, and it will change your life, because they will release endorphins. It'll put you in a positive attitude. It'll allow you to become more resilient, to bounce back. And think about it. Who would you rather deal with? People who are happy or unhappy? Now, I want to switch gears a little bit, laying this foundation, and I want to offer you some wisdom from the great philosopher, the Cookie Monster, who said this: today, me will live in the moment, unless it's unpleasant, in which case me will eat a cookie. We're talking about, once again, I think, why does the 4-year-old laugh or smile 400 times a day? Because they're in the moment. But what happens so often, we get caught up in the imagined future, or get caught up in the dead past. And we miss out on this blessing of right here, right now, being alive. Quick example. How many times are you in a conversation with somebody, and instead of listening to them, you're thinking about what you're going to say? Now, that's also a very powerful sales strategy, because we want to listen to people and their needs and their stories. But so often we're caught up in our own thoughts that we miss out on what someone else has to say. Well, listen, we got a chat here. Monica wants a cookie. Yes. Now, I want to share you the same principle. It's a little same principle about being in the moment, a little deeper quote. The present moment is the only moment available to us, and it is the door to all moments. I say this: in the moment, for the moment. Feel the moment, be the moment. How often in life do we find ourselves distracted? I'll give you a personal example. You know, when I used to fly a lot, sometimes, you know, the flying, I just got a little, got tiresome sometimes. The delays, the late nights, the early mornings, the travel. I was like, man, I just can't wait to get home. And then I get home, I'm be like, man, I can't wait to go on an adventure again. This is getting boring. Or how many times when we're at work, we wish we were at home, and then we're at home, we're worrying about work. And so what I'm trying to say is for 2021, try to practice as much as possible, just being in the now, being in the moment, wherever moment you find yourself. Give yourself 100% to that moment. I'll give you an example. Oh, this is, well, let me share that. I wrote this. Oh, this is pretty profound. Then I'll share the example. In the moment is being unattached from the dead past of if only, and the imagined future of what if. How many times like, if only I would have done this, if only I would have done that, if only I would have married that person. No, I don't know. I'm just playing. Or the imagined future, what if? Well, what if our economy fails? What if we go, it's in the moment. So here's an example from my life. I call it the Guinness and Gatorade story. And I love this story because it just brings home everything I'm talking about. So I like dark beer. In fact, nowadays, Guinness to me is like Bud Light. I like really dark beer. By the time, Guinness was my favorite beer. And I was dating this girl, and her mom lived in Key West, Florida. And so we were planning a visit to go see her. And her mom and I were going to have a Guinness at Sloppy Joe's in Key West, Florida. And I was so excited about it. But of course, I got sick. Everything changed. And the first time I saw her mom, she walked through my hospital door in Topeka, Kansas, carrying a 6-pack of Guinness. I was like, wow, what a woman. But what she did was she poured out the she poured out the Guinness and she filled it with Gatorade. And so we were drinking Gatorade and beer bottles. And we had the time of our life. We were laughing. We were carrying on. In fact, we got so loud that the head nurse came in and she was worried that I lost my mind because she couldn't understand how someone on the cancer floor receiving chemotherapy could be having such a great time. And the trick was because I was just in that moment. See, that's the power we have of our mind. It's not our circumstances. It's our choices. Now, full disclosure, I'm not always positive. That's why I work on this. I think one reason why I'm so drawn to, study, and research how to be happy, how to be joyful, because like everybody, it's easy to get caught up in my thoughts. You see, later on, I relapsed. And I remember when I relapsed 7 months after being in remission, and what happened was I gave into the negativity. I gave into the negative thoughts. I gave into the fear, and I laid there in my hospital bed. I was depressed. I threw myself a pity party. Now, the problem with pity parties is not very many people come. And the ones who do don't bring any gifts. And I'm very thankful for a nurse named Nurse Jody, who at the time I thought was the biggest pain in the rear. So I called her Nurse Ratchet because I was miserable. It was my right to be miserable. Life's not fair. Why me? And she walked into my room and she said, Matt, you need to get up, put a smile on your face, and please, for all of our sakes, get in there and take a shower because you stink. And not only did I stink physically, but I stunk mentally. There's a lot of people, and it's so easy, gets caught in that stinky thinking, looking at all the problems, all the fears, and we forget how great life is. Don't let the stresses of the future make you miss out on the blessings of the present. Because the reality is, we are so blessed in this moment. And all we ever have is this moment. And when you live in this moment, that's, I truly believe, when you have your best life ever. That was the lesson I learned. Example of, I was so stressed out I was going to miss my flight. It never even happened. And how often do we live in that fear of things that never happen. All right, so now in the remaining time, we're going to transition, now that we laid this foundation, the mindset of 3 choices that you can use to stay motivated in the marathon of uncertainty. 3 choices that you can use to overcome any challenge you face, not just in 2021, but your life. And not only these 3 simple choices to overcome challenges, but to achieve any victory you want to achieve. Now, to set this up, I just want to share with you how these 3 choices changed my life. These 3 choices allow me from going from being a 3-time cancer conqueror to relearning how to walk. I'll show you some pictures here. So there's me. I was diagnosed 9/11/2002. At one point, full body radiation. I still have that shirt. I noticed it's starting to get some holes in it. I don't know if that's the radiation or what. Here I am with my dad. The next picture is my dad getting ready for a bone marrow transplant. One point, the cancer spread the fluid in my brain, and they put a special device in my head, and that's where the bandage is covering. And then I had to relearn how to walk. And from that, I went on to complete 8 marathons on 8 continents. So the first one was San Diego. And I did Rome. Now, Rome was amazing because right before the final stretch, you go 3/4 around the Roman Colosseum. I mean, talk about motivation and inspiration. I felt like I was like Rocky Balboa and a gladiator all rolled up into one. But what happened was, real quickly, I was like on cloud 9, right? I thought I'm all that in a bag of chips. Here I am. I looked down in front of me. You can see this picture. It's kind of small. There were these 2 elderly men. They were in front of me, and they had fanny packs, and they were walking. So when I saw them in front of me, my goal was to beat them to the finish line. So I beat the senior citizens. See, I was never a runner. I was always into bodybuilding. I didn't like doing cardio, but when I had to relearn how to walk, I just had this, vision that if I could run a marathon, prove myself I was healthy again. And the next one was Tokyo, and Perth, Australia, Cape Town, Africa, a buddy of mine, which is amazing, Antarctica, and then that was in Chile. And then 2017, they had this new laser technology discovered a new continent in Zealandia. So that's in Queenstown. But I share this to say this, not to impress you, but to impress upon you what's possible of these 3 choices I'm going to share with you. And whatever marathon you face, there was an American philosopher, Ernest Holmes, and he said, if someone else has done it, you can do it. So what I'm going to lay out about the next 20 minutes is this model. I call the small circle responsibility. And the model, we're going to share with you each choice, and then we're going to share with you an equation. If you're interested, I can send you, I have a 15-page PDF on notes. If you're interested, matt@matthewdjones.com, matt@matthewdjones.com. Email me, I'll send it to you for free. But the small circle responsibility, I want you to think about this. If you were to draw a circle around yourself, realizing that ultimately the only person that you can control is who? Is you. But how often in life do we give away our power? How often we try to control circumstances and people outside of us? So I want to set up these 3 choices by the small circle responsibility. And I want to give you a powerful affirmation and philosophy to live by in 2021. And it's this: give so much time to improving yourself that you have no time to criticize others. Whew. Give so much time to improving yourself that you have no time to criticize others. Imagine how our companies, our families, our government would be transformed by that philosophy. You see, one of the reasons I get so excited speaking to these realtor associations is because you all are leaders. You are leaders in your community. And a leader takes responsibility for themselves. So let's jump into this. These three choices. Oh, here's a great quote. This is one of my mentors, Wayne Dyer. You can't always control what goes on outside, but you can always control what goes on inside. And 2020 has been a great proof of that. So much we can't control. And how many people focus on stuff, they get upset on stuff they can't control. Choice number one, visualize your victory. Visualize your victory. So I do live groups. I go, visualize your victory, just to help remember that. Victory. The timeless truth. Where there's no vision, the people perish. And of course, you know, the beginning of the new year is always a great time to ask yourself, what victory do you want to achieve in 2021? So choice number one, visualize your victory. Visualize your victory. Now, once again, here's our model. Visualize your victory, small circle responsibility, and here's the formula. C plus P equals R. This is huge. This is one of the greatest lessons I learned from my cancer experience. You see, I think one of the greatest benefits of webinars like this, listening to speakers or reading books, you can learn from other people's experience without having to go through it. How amazing is this? And this is one of the greatest lessons I learned from going through cancer. And here it is. It's your circumstances plus your perception equals your reality. See, ultimately, it's not what happens to you. It's how you perceive it that creates your reality. I'll give you an example. So when I was a senior in college and I was into bodybuilding, and my hero was Arnold. I want to move to California, get pumped up. I was a certified personal trainer. But as I began my fall semester, I had this sore throat that wouldn't go away. I was sleeping up to 16 hours a day. During one 24-hour period, I slept 23 hours. Thought I had mono. Went to the doctor, got tested. The results came back negative. He said, Matt, we've got to run some more tests. You're free to go home. I didn't think much of it till a little bit after 1 o'clock. 9/11/2002, my phone rang. It was my doctor. Now, when the doctor calls you at home, that is not a good sign. And he said, Matt, we got some good news and some bad. You're sicker than we thought. You have cancer. And I thought for a second, because of my positive attitude, I said, oh my goodness, I sure hope the good news isn't that he switched to Geico and saved a bunch of money. Once again, lighten up, don't tighten up. I mean, I was a senior in college. And here's what Dr. McNamara is his name. Here's what he said to me. He said, Matt, here's the good news. I'm here to tell you there's always good news. He said, it's possible that you can beat this. It's not going to be easy, but you can do it. But all I could see when I heard those three words, my circumstance, my perception was, this is the worst thing ever. And that was my reality. This is the worst thing ever. And then I met a very special person, Nurse Ginger. She was the first nurse I met. And she said to me, she said, Matt, my sister also had cancer and she beat it. And she says one of the greatest blessings of her life. Now, when I heard her share that, I was like thinking to myself, no offense, but your sister's crazy. There is nothing good that can come from having cancer. And I remember laying in my hospital bed that first night. And I said, why me? Life's not fair. Remember that thing I shared earlier? The quality of your life is determined by what? The quality of your questions. And my transformation came when I started asking a different question. You see, what's interesting, and that's why I commend you for being in this meeting. The average American reads less than one nonfiction book a year. At the same time, they watch over 30 hours of TV a week. You see, before I ever got sick, I read that book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. At the time I was sick in 2002, the #1 most popular TV show in the world was Jerry Springer. Y'all, who's seen Jerry Springer? Y'all seen that show? Has anyone been on it? But here's the takeaway. You see, I read that book, Think and Grow Rich, and I didn't realize, laying in the hospital bed, in my subconscious was that quote, one quote. See, my philosophy, whenever I listen to a speaker, read a book, if I can just learn one thing or be reminded of something I knew and I'm not doing, it's worth my whole time and investment. Because ultimately, it's not what you know, it's what you do. Charlie Tremendous Jones, he was a great motivational speaker. He started out in an insurance agency. He transitioned several years ago, but he said this, great quote. You'll be the same person you are today 5 years from now, except for two things, the people you meet and the books you read. The people you meet and the books you read. I think sometimes, what would have happened if instead of reading that one book, if I'd been watching 30 hours of Jerry Springer? I don't think I'd be here. You see, as I lay there in that hospital bed, I remembered that quote I shared earlier. Every adversity, every heartache, every failure carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. And I laid there in my hospital bed and I visualized my victory. That someday, somehow, somewhere, for someone, some good would come from my experience. And here we are, over 2002, over 18 years later. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I'd be communicating through my computer. But I know this, there's someone here today that needs or heard something I've shared. Because I have this belief, from your tragedy comes your triumph. But see, look what happened. That circumstance of having cancer, it stayed the same. But the reality, the worst thing ever, it became one of the greatest blessings. Why? Because my perception changed. We have the choice. And I asked a different question. I said, what's the good that can come from the bad? When it comes to visualizing your victory, you might want to write this down. Set your intention and make it your attention. Set your intention, I-N, make it your attention, A-T. Because once again, what you focus on is what you'll get back. Truly believe from your mess comes your message. So here's what I want to ask you. I want you to start to think about. What's one victory you want to achieve in the next 90 days? One victory. You know, for me, what happens a lot of times is I have like 50 different victories that I want to achieve. And when you have 50 different victories you want to achieve, what happens? You end up not achieving any of them. The power of focus. So what's one victory in the next 90 days that you want to achieve, whether personally or professionally? Now, moving into choice number 2. So first choice, once again, visualize your victory. Now, choice number 2 is take action. Once again in life, it's not what you know, it's what you do. Knowing and not doing is not knowing. A quick example. So when I was into bodybuilding, so right around New Year, everyone has New Year's, resolutions, and the gyms would be packed. And I'd be so frustrated because all these new people in the gym, they didn't know what they were doing. They were in my way. And then with clockwork, by Valentine's Day, it got back to normal. Here's the key. Take action. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I love this quote. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. So here's why I want to encourage you. When it comes to visualizing your victory, create your wow. What would be a wow for 2021? And you set that wow, and here's the thing. Don't worry about the how, just be in the now. Whew, that gets me going. That's my new thing. What is a wow? But don't worry about the how, just be in the now. So choice number 2, take action. Let's go back to our model. Then I'm going to share a story. So visualize your victory. That's choice 1. Choice 2, take action. Here's the formula. This formula is how to achieve anything you want in life. How awesome is that? Here's the formula. S plus E equals A. Your skill plus effort equals achievement. You want to sell more houses. You take skill, but also effort. There's a great book out there called Grit. I recommend it. Angela Duckworth. Some of you may have read it. And what they found in positive psychology, the #1 predictor of success is grit, that tenacity. You fall 7 times, you get back up. I want to share this with you. This came across me. This is going to benefit somebody. This is one of my beliefs, one of my affirmations. I can't fail. I can only learn and grow. For the longest time, I wrote that down on a 3x5 note card. I said it over and over because I realized sometimes in life, I didn't take action because I thought about, well, what if they say no? Once again, make no your vitamin. Something I learned from Jack Canfield. SW, 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 SW. Some will, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting. Some will, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting. I can't fail. I can only learn and grow. From your test comes your testimony. So I'll share this story real quick. What happened was, as I shared earlier, January, Monday, this upcoming Monday, 17 years ago, I was told by Dr. Doom, cancer in my brain. They put a special device in my head, got infected. One of my kidneys began to fail. My temperature rose to over 104 degrees. Valentine's Day, I slipped to unconscious state. When I came out of that, I was dazed. I was confused. My dad was there with a physical therapist. And I remember I had my tennis shoes on, these tennis shoes right here. But unlike the picture, the laces were untied. I remember looking down those laces and thinking I was supposed to do something with them. I couldn't remember what it was. And just like when I was 5 years old, my dad, he walked over, he knelt down, and he tied my shoes. I was a 25-year-old man. I couldn't tie my own shoes. I think back, if only it would have been Velcro. But here's the thing. Every time I tie my shoes, that's a victory. That's a blessing. It's truly true. So many little things in life are these great blessings, and we don't fully realize it until they're gone. And then the physical therapist, my dad, they helped me to stand up. And once again, I knew I was supposed to do something. I couldn't remember what it was. They took my left arm and they put it around my physical therapist, and the left arm put around my dad, and they put one foot in front of the other as I had to relearn how to walk. And that day, with their help, I couldn't even go 5 yards. And they put me in a wheelchair and they wheeled me back to my hospital room. And I remember laying in that hospital bed, and you can imagine the fear I had, the worry I had, the doubt I had. But then there was this little small voice, and to this day, I'm pretty sure it might have been all the medication they had me on to run a marathon. Run a marathon? I couldn't even walk 5 yards. I couldn't even tie my shoes. But that was a wow. But what happens is we set this wow, we set this victory, this dream, these goals we have, and then what happens is that fear comes in and says, well, how are you going to do that? Don't worry about the how. Be in the now. And the now for me was, okay, if all I did was lay there in my hospital bed, never going to run a marathon. So my goal was to take one step. One step. You know how far that is from 26.2 miles? From 8 marathons and 8 continents? It doesn't matter. What matters if we just get a little bit better today than yesterday. We'll be amazed by our progress. One step. From this, not being able to tie my own shoe, to crossing the finish line in Antarctica. I didn't even know they had marathons there. That's the power of these choices. When you visualize your victory and when you take action, the impossible becomes possible. Whoo, I'm getting myself fired up. I need to go find new continent, do a marathon. Now, I want to give you a practical strategy. 10-3-1. What this is you think of that victory you want to achieve. I encourage you, in the next 90 days. It could be a longer goal. Say you want to run a marathon. Well, next 90 days, I want to complete, maybe a 5K or a half marathon. You make a list of the 10 things you need to do. Maybe there's a certain sales goal that you have. You write down the 10 action steps. You circle 3, and then you pick the one thing you're going to take action on. That's what I try to do every day. A list of things I got to do that day. Okay, just focus on one thing. There's a great book out there. You probably heard about it in the real estate world called what's it called? The One Thing. It's called One Thing. And it's just about focusing on that one thing. Now, another quote by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I love this quote. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving. Once again, the quote we shared, you fall 7 times, you get back up 8. I can't fail. I can only learn and grow. What's one action step you can take? So I encourage you, once we get off this call, what's one action step you can take? Maybe it's just getting a 3x5 note card and you write out that victory. Maybe it's, order a book that you're going to read, make a commitment. Maybe it's to make that list of action steps. Maybe it's to write down that quote, I can't fail, I can only learn and grow. But this is the key, and you all know it. It's not what you know, it's what you do. Now, move into the third and final choice. Visualize your victory, take action, and the third choice is elevate your attitude. William James, the father of American psychology, said the greatest discovery of our generation is that we can alter our lives by altering the attitudes of our mind. So once again, choice number 3, you got to elevate your attitude. We go back to our formula. So we have our model, visualize your victory, take action, elevate your attitude, and here's the formula, F plus T plus W equals L. The feelings you feel, the thoughts you think, and the words you speak determine the life you live. Because ultimately, these are the things that you can control. And ultimately, these are the things that make up your perception of your circumstances. The feelings you feel, the thoughts you think, the words you speak. Here's a picture of me as a baby Matt, and there's my grandfather. And my grandfather was a retired farmer. And when I was 5 years young, he helped me make a garden. I'll never forget what he said. He said, Matt, every day you got to water your crops, and every day you got to pull the weeds. And garden is a great metaphor for our mind, because our mind, like a garden, on a daily basis, we've got to water it. On a daily basis, we've got to feed with positivity, especially nowadays. And on a daily basis, we've got to pull those weeds and negativity. Because the greatest challenge, I believe, that you'll face in 2021, the greatest challenge I faced was not the cancer. The greatest challenge are the limiting beliefs, the negative self-talk, the self-defeating inner dialogue. Zig Ziglar. Y'all heard of Zig, right? The great Zig Ziglar. So what happened was, back in the 70s, he had these positive mental attitude rallies. And there was this newspaper reporter, and she was kind of cynical. Imagine that, the media being cynical. And she said to Zig, well, if this motivation stuff works so well, why do you got to keep doing it? And here's the quote, but I'll say it. And this is what Zig said. Zig's such a gentleman, so polite. And he said to her, well, ma'am, we look at motivation a lot like bathing. We recommend you do it daily. And it's so true. So true. So I love that quote by Zig. What a great man. Great light he gave to our world. So here becomes the takeaway. How can you elevate your attitude daily? So I encourage you, in 2021, it's important to have an attitude habit, something you do on a daily basis to help elevate that attitude. We're coming down the final stretch, and I want to share this story. There's my mom and I, and this is when I first started speaking a few years ago. But I echo the words of Abraham Lincoln. everything I am, everything I hope to be, I owe to my dear angel mom. And a lot of times people say, Matt, what was the greatest marathon you ran? And you know, all the marathons, there were greatness about them, but I know the greatest finish line I crossed was this, Mother's Day 2004. I was recovering from a successful bone marrow transplant, and the doctor came in, Dr. Ganguly. We fired Dr. Doom. Let me suggest this. In 2021, let's get rid of the Dr. Dooms in our lives. And he said to me, he said, Matt, you get to go home. It was like I won the lottery of life. And the first thing I did was I picked up the telephone. I called my mom and I said, Mom, happy Mother's Day. I get to go home. And she said, Matt, this is the greatest Mother's Day gift ever. And I've been in remission ever since. Now I have one last choice I want to share with you. We're going to wrap it up with this. And you see, what happened was after the successful bone marrow transplant, because the cancer spread the fluid in my brain, doctors wanted to do follow-up chemotherapy. What that meant was for 1 month, once a month for 10 months, chemo in my brain. And you know, the side effects, and I had 9 of these. Everything was looking great. And so I asked my doctor, I said, Doc, do I really need this last treatment? What's the medical literature say? And he said, Matt, there is no medical literature. There's never been someone who had what you had be here a year later. I was like, well, Doc, keep doing what you're doing. I was like, that's why you get paid the big bucks. And sometimes I wonder, why me? Why have I been so blessed to wake up today? So blessed to take a breath in and a breath out, to be alive. And the reason why I'm so blessed is the reason why you're so blessed. The last choice I want to share with you, we call it the ultimate choice. And that's the choice to serve. You know, if you take your index finger and you look at your index finger, the lines, your fingerprint, uniquely yours. No one ever alive or anyone who ever will be alive has those fingerprints. And the fact that you woke up today, the fact that you're here, the fact that you have those fingerprints proves this. You have a unique and special purpose that only you can achieve in this world. And just think of how you serve people. Because where do people spend the majority of their times? In their homes. And you know that is an honor to be a realtor, to be in real estate, to be in your community. And I want to encourage you more than ever to spread hope, to spread positivity, to spread kindness. 2 quotes to end this out. First one is by Albert Schweitzer, and he said this, and it's to you, each one of you on this call. I don't know what your destiny will be, but one thing I know, the ones among you who will really be happy are those who have sought and found how to serve. And so I encourage you as a realtor to go out there and realize that you are serving others. You are making a difference. And we have one last quote. Here's the last quote. We'll turn back over to Amy. And because I add this quote, because everything that's going on, I thought we need some Mother Teresa. And Mother Teresa says this, spread love everywhere you go. Let no one ever come to you without leaving better and happier. Be the living expression of kindness. Kindness in your face, kindness in your eyes, kindness in your smile, kindness in your warm greeting. One of the things I live by is it's better to be kind than to be right. Well, it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. I'm going to turn it back over to the amazing Amy. It's all yours, Amy.
Well, thank you so much, Matt. That was definitely what a lot of us needed, for sure. I've had members messaging me and on Facebook and on here, and they said, gosh, I really needed this today. So thank you so, so much for your time and your energy and sharing your message. And I mentioned in the chat, we'll make sure to grab the resources from you,
Yeah,
your slide
definitely.
deck or your PDF resources, and we'll make sure to share those through our website, Facebook page, etc. And I'm going to go ahead and we'll turn it back over to Rachel to close the meeting out.
Thanks, Amy. So Matt, again, thank you so much. I've heard you, this is my second time to hear you speak, and it's still just as awesome as the first time. So we really appreciate you being with us today and taking time out to deliver that message to our association. So thank you. It was wonderful. We really appreciate it, and definitely look forward to seeing you again in the future. So to echo everything that Amy said, awesome job with our staff. Really appreciate all the hard work that's going into everything amidst our current situation in the world. So our next meeting will be March 4th. As Amy mentioned earlier, we're going to be welcoming back Chris Fields from last year. And that is all, guys. Y'all go spread some love because we need it. Some Jesus, a little positivity.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.